Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for episode number 3 of Jocks with Docs podcast. Hopefully, you enjoyed our last content. Hopefully, you'll enjoy this one as well. Again, I'm Doc Smith. Across from me, on the other side of the computer is Doc Will. Touch on a few things here. I think we were going to discuss. The first thing we were going to discuss is like the MLB playoff predictions. Who do you think is going to win which round, and who's going to end up taking it all?
Yeah, so we'll start off with the wild card, right? We got the wild cards that made it in. So I guess we'll call this the wild card round because now we have 3 teams, right?
Yeah, it's no longer play-in. It's whoever records and I guess seeding-wise now is how they have it. It used to be, one team would play against each other the last game of the season to get the wild card spot, and then now it's just the wild card.
Yeah, I like this format better, to be honest. It is less drama. Which I'm okay with. But now you get to see maybe the better teams are actually going to make it further.
And expanded the field a little bit, so it added more teams, which, I guess maybe some people are upset about because they're like, well, they should have done it years ago or whatever. But, I mean, obviously baseball evolves and the game's always changing.
Yeah, and it's here now, right? So
Yep.
So we'll start it off. The first series we got, and then we'll get your prediction too, is Rays versus the Guardians. That's Friday. That's the first game. Who do you got in this series, and why?
I've got the Guardians just because I think they're just an under-the-radar team. I think they've kind of flown under the radar the whole season. They've got a good, pitching staff. They've got a good offense, kind of just a team that's kind of just been under the radar and kind of snuck in there, quietly, so to speak, because you've had teams like Houston and the Yankees who've made a lot of noise the whole season, and then you just got the Guardians that's just been kind of hanging out there. The Rays, I just don't feel like are going to have the team to compete like they've had in years past. I think they're, probably one and done.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Guardians have been flying under the radar. The only thing that concerns me with the Guardians, they don't hit the long ball. I mean, neither do the Rays, but I give it to the Guardians because I like Ramirez, and then Shane Bieber. They have a top end, so I think that the Guardians will move on. Okay, then let's move on. That was a short series. I don't think either one of us really care about that.
On that one.
That was cut and dry. I think that's self-explanatory for us. All right, next one is your team, Phillies, traveling to the Cardinals. Who do you have? And I know who you have, but let's hear why your Cardinals are going to beat the Phillies, the Fighting Phillies.
This is actually, I think, a little bit harder than I think some people may think, because I think when the Phillies played St. Louis, I think it was in June, when they, St. Louis had a big long stretch of tough games before the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. They played against the Cardinals really well. They've got Aaron Nola. They've got, a couple of other pitchers that they have that are matched well against the Cardinals. So I think it's going to be it's going to be a difficult matchup for the Cardinals. I do think if the Cardinals can get their hitting on point, then they'll be fine. If they can get Arenado and Goldschmidt going, then I think they'll be okay. If that doesn't happen, then I don't know if the Cardinals will be able to compete because, the Phillies, at that time when they played him in June, they didn't have Bryce Harper. He was injured. Mm-hmm. Yep. He's back. Schwarber hit 45 home runs this season. Castellanos, if he can get going, he's always a Cardinal killer from when he played with the Reds. I think they're just, even though I think the Cardinals maybe match up a little bit better, I still think that they're not to be looked over.
Yeah, so I think actually the Phillies pose a very good threat to the Cardinals for a lot of reasons. I think the Cardinals personally would have rather faced the Padres. Because you guys match up better against the Padres. The Phillies have some left-handed power. Guess what the Cardinals struggle? against left-handed power. So
yeah.
we'll see with Schwarber. If you can keep Schwarber quiet at the top, silence Harper, but they still got some power from the right with Castellanos, who has struggled, but he loves facing Cardinals. Reese
JT
Hoskins,
Realmuto.
JT Realmuto, the catcher. They got some power from the right-hand side too. But
Yeah.
the key to them is always going to be their pitching. Nola finished strong, but I think the Cardinals get a hold of him. Who else is their other pitcher? They have the other pitcher. He's starting game one. Not Zach. What's his name? Hold on. What's his name? The righty
Wheeler?
Wheeler. Zach Wheeler. There you go. So Zach Wheeler starting game one. He actually pitched better against the Cardinals in the regular season. So
Right.
I think that's the key, is to get to him early, because he does get a little bit wild.
I think what benefits the Cardinals is they added the depth at the trade deadline. So they got Montgomery, Quintana, Flaherty's back now. So you got, even if some of the early guys, don't go the distance, you still got guys that you can play. And it's a 3-game series. All you got to do is win 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
It's and then you're good. So, I mean, if they, I think Michaelis is pitching game 1 and Quintana's pitching game 2. So if they start struggling, first couple of innings, if Marmol feels like the game's getting
Out of hand.
Okay, he's seeing they're struggling. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Wainwright or whoever I got to bring in to fill into, Palante, whoever it is. They'll plug somebody in to fill in those gaps until, at least they can, because they want to win the championship. That's their only goal this year, is to win the title.
Of course, and send out possibly Wainwright, Molina, and your boy Albert Pujols.
Yeah.
So out on top.
Yeah.
What a story that would be.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I hope so.
For obvious reasons, but I am rooting for them, no doubt. I would love to see nothing would make me happier to see a Cardinals Dodgers NLCS for the third time in the last 10 years. It'd be third time in the last 10 years. So, and we split, right? Dodgers.
Yep.
You guys won the first one. Dodgers won the second one. So that would be fun. That would be fun to watch.
Yep.
So I'll definitely be tuning in. All right, moving on to the next one. I think this one's intriguing. The Mariners at the Blue Jays. Now,
that one's going to be an interesting one as well. I don't know too much about the Mariners other than, some of the acquisitions. They got Luis Castillo from the Reds. They've got, who is it? Is it Julio Rodriguez? Is that his name?
Rookie.
I can't remember the rookie's name.
Yep.
He's, played pretty well this year. The Blue Jays just seem, I think the Mariners could end up getting them just because the Blue Jays have been streaky with their hitting a lot this year. I think, Bobichette, I don't think he's been pretty good, but, Vlad is who Vlad is, so he's probably going to play pretty well. I think the Mariners could end up possibly beating them. I think they're another under-the-radar kind of team.
So you picking the upset? That's your only upset?
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, you going Mariners? I like that, though. So the Mariners, they're young. Julio Rodriguez, who's my MVP for the AL, I picked him. But he had 28 home runs and stole 30 bases, so it's pretty impressive for your rookie year. Batting at the top of the lineup. They broke the longest streak, 21 years they had until they made the playoffs, and that was the team that has the most wins, 116 wins, the 2001 Mariners, which is pretty incredible. That the Mariners have had some good teams over the years. They just, for some reason, haven't been able to make the postseason. I'm still sticking with the Blue Jays, though. I just think the pitching is better on the Blue Jay side. I think Castillo was a huge pickup, though, and then you also have, for the Blue Jays, who used to pitch for the Mariners, Robbie Ray.
Right.
I think he can silence them. And then obviously the bats. You got Bichette, you got Vlad, you got Chapman, Whit Merrifield at the bottom there. Even though he's struggling this year, he still can hit. So So I'll pick the Blue Jays, all right? And then the last one is a very intriguing one too. And I see a lot of people online picking them. The Padres, as the Padres and the Mets. Who do you got in that series?
That one is going to be another tough one. I think that a lot of people don't think it's going to be as tough. I think My instinct says the Mets just because you've got Scherzer and DeGrom game 1 and 2. If they're lights out, game 1 and 2 it's over and done.
His series is over, right?
Darvish pitches really well. So does Snell. They're both pretty good pitchers. I think they've both under 4 ERAs, and Darvish. I think the 2 games that he pitched against the Mets this season, he pitched pretty well. I think their third starter, I can't remember his name. I think he won one of the series against the Mets this year too. So, but again, the Mets, they've got a decent lineup. I mean, you got Nimmo, you've got Alonso, you've got McNeil, you've got
Lindor.
So, I mean, you've got some bats there. But like I said, if you get Scherzer and DeGrom, being Scherzer and DeGrom, then it's series is over with.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be the Mets. I think they sweep them. Well, not sweep, but you know what I mean. It's over.
Right.
In 2 games, I think it's over. Because it's a best of 3, right?
Right. And I just think Soto really hasn't done a whole lot since he's gone to San Diego.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with the pressure. And there's no protection. You bring back Fernando Tatis next year, even though he's suspended so long. That extends them, and then it drops Soto where he's more comfortable to bat third, as opposed to batting second, where he's not comfortable.
Bell kind of fell off. I think he was batting pretty well in Washington, and he came over in the trade and hasn't done a whole lot.
Yeah, he's a switch hitter.
He's been over.
Yeah, he's a switch hitter too, so he can get hot though. He's a streaky hitter. I just don't think the Padres have enough depth as far as, which is crazy when you think about it with that roster. They don't really put any fear into you other than Machado.
Right.
Soto, he hasn't been a good postseason player, really.
No.
Even though he's so young. So they definitely don't scare the Mets pitching with DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett. And then their bullpen is lights out. So with Diaz and
Carlos
Lugo.
Correa is the other guy I was thinking of, their third pitcher that pitched well against the
Carlos Carrasco?
Yes.
Yeah, Carrasco for the Indians or the Guardians. Yeah. Yes, he did pitch good. And he started coming on. He had some serious medical issues 2 years ago. So he's a good story to watch. So, all right. So that's baseball. So we're moving along. So next on the docket is let's talk football. The week, what are we in? Week 5 and Thursday night.
Week 5. We've now moved to week 5. And of course the Broncos are playing tonight. They're playing against the Colts and are freaking probably going to stink it up. Oh, this has been a frustrating season so far, only 4 games in. It's just, like I said last week, you got freaking fumbleitis Gordon, who can't hold on to the damn ball to save his life.
Cannot.
And I don't know what's going on with their offense. Why, again, this week, or when they played the Raiders, they didn't use Russell Wilson to his best of his abilities. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's because it is a new system, but it's kind of, I don't like that excuse because I know they incorporated some of the stuff from Green Bay, but then they incorporated some of the stuff from his time in Seattle. So they kind of created a hybrid system. And it's not like Wilson's a rookie quarterback. He's been in the league for 10 plus years. So that excuse doesn't really fly too much with me. I think I expect him to play better than what he has.
Well, definitely, considering how much they're paying him.
Right.
So
and all the hype around him.
I think it's more. I've never been a fan. I hate to harp on Nathaniel Hackett again. I've never been a fan of his. I just don't think he's a good play caller. I don't think he's a good OC. We'll see about him as a head coach. You are what your record is, right? They're 1-3.
Or 2-2.
Or 2-2. They should be 1-3. Right. They should be 1-3 though.
Yeah.
They did win though. That was an ugly game. They beat the Niners. They should have lost that game.
Right.
They were outplayed in that game, but the defense, you got to give credit where credit's due. The defense has been stellar. I've been impressed with.
Now they got Randy Gregory. He's out because he had arthroscopic surgery on his knee again, which is the question mark of why he didn't re-sign with Dallas. Because they were putting a clause in his contract, and he didn't agree with the clause in his contract, and
he jumped ship.
and now it's going to bite the Broncos in the butt because if he's got knee issues, what good's he going to do?
Correct. Yeah, I mean he is a good player, but
He is.
the defense has been very good. I've been impressed with the secondary and the linebackers. You guys have no-name linebackers flying over the field.
Yeah.
So you give credit to them. I think the offense will get better. The more familiarity and comfortability Russell gets.
I hope
we'll
so.
see.
I'm not holding my breath, and of course,
No.
Williams is now going to be out for the rest of the season with the tour.
Yeah, that was ACL.
I think
and
MCL
LCL.
or something is what he tore, so he's done. So now we're stuck with freaking Gordon, and hopefully he figures out his fumbling issues because he's fumbled in the last 5 games, and it's pretty much just cost him.
And the crazy thing is half of those have been returned for touchdowns. It's like every time he fumbles, the team just takes it to the house.
Right into their hands.
Right into them, just magically. I'm like, there's just no way I would be starting Gordon. I would find somebody else.
Well, they got Levante Murray. They signed him, but of course he's inactive tonight, so I don't know how
because
well.
he had no time to practice, right? But
and then there was rumors of possibly getting Philip Lindsay, bringing him back in. He's on the Colts practice squad, which they can't do because they're playing the Colts this week. But
I would like to see him back because he's a local kid. He's not far from Denver.
Yeah, but I don't know how much tread is left on his tires, or if he's.
Yeah,
he was kind of a one-trick pony because as soon as they knew he was coming in, the defense would sack the box, and because he's not one of those outside rushers, he can't jump to the outside. He's primarily up the gut.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Run up,
no.
get the 3-4 yards, and don't fumble.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He hasn't fumbled in 700 carries that he's had.
Well, there you go. Sounds like
at least he can hold on to the damn ball.
Well, that's part of the.
And so I guess we can transition over to your team, the Steelers. Looks like they finally made a move and benched Trubisky, which he was not happy about, which I saw that coming a mile away.
Yeah, I wish Tomlin would have listened to Steeler Nation before. There's just no way you don't start the kid. In the preseason, Kenny looked good. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Only threw like 6 incompletions in the whole preseason in the 3 games he played. And look how good he did when he came in. Yes, he threw the 3 picks. One of them wasn't his fault. He rushed for 2 touchdowns, and he was moved. The team was moving the ball, though. That's the key. He gave him much a spark, is what Tomlin, Coach T, said. So I think it's going to be rough in Buffalo, though. They beat him last year to start the year in Buffalo, but that was with Big Ben. And we didn't score. The defense won that game.
Buffalo has struggled. They would have probably lost to the Dolphins had Tua not been knocked out for the first series.
I agree. And Von Miller.
Which is the other topic we were going to discuss, which is how crazy that whole situation has been and how the NFL is failing their concussion protocols.
Yes, especially, and that wasn't just him over the weekend, right? Or the 2 weekends ago. There was a couple players that were injured, but the one that stuck out, of course, was Tua. They tried to label it a back injury. And then to find out that the person who cleared him to go out was not even a medical personnel. And he got fired now and is now going to be sued.
He botched that completely.
How's that possible, Brad? How do you have a non-medical person clearing a football player after clearly to everyone with a brain sees that
they knew he wasn't right. I mean,
that knew he wasn't right.
That's not a back issue. If you stumble, a back issue means you're probably not getting up off the turf
to begin with, right? You're just sitting down. But with the concussion, he gets up, he takes those 2 steps, he falls almost to his knees. He doesn't get all the way. His hand hits the
He had to be supported.
He had to be supported. Then 4 days later, miraculously, from Sunday to Thursday, let's throw him in there.
Yeah,
and let's start him. And then he gets hit by a 360-pound defensive lineman who
right on the back of his head,
and his back and his butt, and just swings him like a rag doll.
Yeah,
and he's throwing up gang signs. Isn't that what it looked like?
The kid is yeah. I mean,
24
he's just
years old.
You're like could possibly be done.
Yeah,
I mean, I know he's
possible.
probably not going to because he's a guy that wants to compete and play like every other NFL player is. But this, I think, is a lot what a lot of fans don't take into account of with some of these players, because you get people that get upset with these players like Lamar Jackson. Why is he holding out for more money? This is a prime example of why they're holding out for more money. It's a guaranteed contract. You don't know if you're going to make it 10 years. So to get that money that's going to set you for life, absolutely do that.
Yes.
The team doesn't care about you. We saw that with the Dolphins. They didn't give a damn about him. They wanted him back on the field.
Right. Yeah, and that's not so much. I'm not going to put it on Mike McDaniel, the coach. So I don't want to place the blame on the coach. This totally goes to the medical staff, that individual who made that decision to clear him and send him back in when clearly he never should have been out of that tent, and how he passed the concussion protocol is something the NFL, PA in the NFL is going to look into, because now this 24-year-old young man, his career is in jeopardy, and now his life is in jeopardy in my eyes.
Yep.
It's very unfortunate.
Whatever happens to the next one, I mean, it's hard to tell what could end up happening. I mean, I, as far as I know, they were supposed to, upgrade their helmets or whatever. I think their helmets are supposed to take more of an impact, but obviously they're not helping either. If that's the case with so many concussions are still happening.
Well, you got to think that it's not every day you get thrown down by a huge individual like that.
And I mean, you obviously know too, you've had TBI and what that does to you as far as how much it screws up your brain and everything. And they've been doing a lot of studies. Obviously, we wore helmets too, right? We had our Kevlars, but didn't have padding.
We didn't have padding. Concussions, they've come a long way. Since we were in the military, we both joined 20 years ago, right? So it has become better, but football is constant. And I did have multiple concussions, blast concussions, right? Over in Iraq, but they said the next one would be fatal. Well, I'm still here, right? So,
but I'm sure as soon as when you got hit and it took you, and you were like, "Fucking, what's going on?" Nobody's home,
Yep. Yeah, and I knew something was up, especially the first one, because it was actually pretty scary. Because I don't know how Tua felt, but the way he looked is kind of how I kind of felt when I saw him. I guess if that makes sense. You have this look on your face of not only concern, but what just happened, because you don't know what happened. You just know you lost consciousness or a brief, and then you come to, like you said, and it's like, oh shit, I just had a concussion. Yep. But then it's scary from there. And the thing about concussions, it's, you have one, you become more susceptible. And that's why I think he had two in under a week. And that's what is concerning. And he said he had multiple in college and a couple in high school. Now you compound that issue of his brain from him playing high school football in Hawaii, where he's from, right? Born and raised.
Right.
Going to college in Alabama. Okay. And now he's in the National Football League in South Beach there in Miami. So that's a lot of hits. According to him and his family, he's had multiple concussions. I don't want to speak how many he's had, but I just heard multiple concussions. He's 24, Brad. He's not old.
That's kind of what I find frustrating too with the NFL and what they did, because last year they added another game onto the season. They took away the 2 preseason games, or 1 preseason game or whatever, and added another game with a preseason. You ain't getting hit as much.
Correct.
So you added the game, so now you're adding more times that these guys can get hit.
Right. And
for what? Because you're wanting to make more money.
It's at the end of the day, it's
you don't
all
need
the
another
money.
Game. What was the point of having another game?
No, and I honestly think it's, instead of adding games, we need to take the preseason down to 2. So it was 4, now it's 3. Take it to 2 and bring football down to about, I think, 12 to 14 games is a good. Yeah. Because that's the thing about football. It's every game means so much. So when you have 16 to 17 games, that's just one more game for 32 teams. 32 times 53. Can't do that in my head right now, but okay, that's a lot of players. We're talking over 500 players, right? in the league. That's a lot of players. Plus, you have a practice squad. So they need to be coming down, but we know they're not going to because you're going to lose revenue. You think the owners, Jerry Jones, the Mara family, the billionaires, you think they're going to want to lose revenue?
Nope.
Of course not. Last year, they made on record $13 billion. That was after everything was covered. $13 billion. I mean, that's the reason why these owners are in the business is because it makes money.
Yep. They don't care about the players.
They don't give a shit about the players. Yeah, it's been proven. I don't want to say all owners don't. There are some teams like the Steelers, one of them with happened to Ryan Shazier, which was scary. Remember that 5 years ago against the Bengals? So they've done a lot. They have a very good medical staff. You had a player like Ben Roethlisberger who played through all these injuries. I mean, he should have missed a lot more games that most quarterbacks would have sat out, but he was just a gamer, country boy from Ohio. So you have some teams. Another team, the Broncos too. I mean, even the Broncos.
They used to when Pat Bowlen was there.
Right, but now
you got the Walton ownership group, and
they're not going to
be
care.
Another money.
Yeah, it's going to be like a meat farm. They don't care. Just throw them out there. But now they have the deep pockets though, so we'll see with the Broncos. But I would like to see the Broncos, getting back to your Broncos and getting off the concussion thing, draft a quarterback. How my Steelers did, and hopefully it's someone that is, like he wants to be a Bronco, because the Broncos, you guys have a huge following all over the country. It's not just in the Colorado and the mountain area. They're all over. So when the Broncos
we're
good,
just
it's
in the
better for
habit
the
of
NFL.
signing other teams' leftovers. That's
Has been
our habit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and Peyton Manning worked out for you, even though he didn't do good. Those
Jake
2
Plummer.
years. Jake Plummer. I liked Plummer though. By the way, he was a gamer though. He was a gamer. And now you go look at Russell Wilson.
Right.
There's no way you guys should have gave him that much money. Seattle knew he didn't have it anymore. He lost a step. $252 million. That's a lot of money for a 34-year-old quarterback who's basically been a backyard football player. He's never been accurate. He's always had to improvise. He gets sacked a lot because he holds on to the ball. He doesn't.
And probably the one year they went to the Super Bowl, which they were there twice, but I mean, the one year that they beat the Broncos was because of their defense.
Correct.
I mean, that was the only reason.
Well, Legion of Boom.
Legion of Boom.
Legion of Boom, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't because of Russ.
He probably wouldn't have been there.
No, it wasn't Russ. Well, beast mode too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but Russell wasn't.
As far as their defense,
Russell struggled in that game. Remember, he struggled. Yeah, pretty bad. The one thing I do like about Russ, he does protect the football, so I will give him credit there. He does get sacked a lot, arguably one of the most in NFL history. He's been sacked already, but he does not turn over the ball, and he's always going to keep you in the game, as you see with the Broncos. They should be.
But as we've seen, I mean, their biggest issue, which has been the biggest problem in the last couple of years, is they don't have a freaking offensive line.
Offensive line, correct. And again,
it don't matter who you put back there.
They're
you got a line to protect them.
Yeah,
you're going to lose the game every time.
Every single time. The game's won in the trenches, right? Both sides. Defensive line, offensive line.
So another thing I think we should probably touch base on, which is kind of a crazy story, and I don't know, I'm sure you probably saw it, talking about the concussions and everything, is your boy Antonio Brown.
Oh, man.
And the crap he did with Tom Brady. Oh, my God.
Now
how do you do that? That was dirty.
It was dirty because Tom and Giselle and their family, the kids, brought in Tony. He lived with them, no shit, for 3 months. Rent free, didn't pay for rent, lived in that compound, we'll call it, in Tampa Bay. It was right outside of Tampa Bay, but
that
you know what I mean.
Lost his mind, freaking in Dubai, butt naked, sticking his junk in some chick's face.
Right, and stroking his, you know what? I'm like,
AB.
But you know what? He's never been the same since that concussion from that Vontez Burfict over the middle. I knew as soon as he got hit, I said, his career's probably over. Now, he still played after that, but he has not been the same. The Steelers were not the same. Matter of fact, he went on 2 years later, left. Le'Veon Bell. How do you have Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, all this talent, Big Ben when he was better, a good offensive line then, and we never went to a Super Bowl.
Well, I don't know
It's
how
just-
Mike Tomlin kept them in check. I mean, how you keep Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell in check with their freaking
Yeah, well,
egos?
Le'Veon. Well, to find out that Le'Veon was the lesser of the of the freak shows, but even
Yeah.
Le'Veon's going on now fighting MMA guys. He's going to be fighting Uriah Hall.
Right.
What is it next
Well, his
month? I
career
think.
like flamed out pretty quick too.
Yeah, because he didn't take the money from the Steelers when the Jets
Yeah.
ended up giving him less. You dummy.
And he freaking crapped the bed.
Well, it's because
All
they
right,
had.
so I think we were going to also talk about
Yeah.
college football. That now
Yeah.
that it's in week 6 or whatever it's in.
Yeah, they're a week ahead. Yep, week 6. Yep. And,
How do you think everything's shaping up so far this season?
Yeah, well, the Blue Bloods are looking good. I watched your Michigan this past weekend. I was camping and watched the game against Iowa there in Iowa City. I thought they were pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I really like the quarterback. I like JJ a lot.
Yep.
Your receivers are very young. You got a true freshman, and those 2 sophomores.
Their defense
I think next
is
year,
really good.
the defense has always been good under Jim, right? Under
Right.
Coach Harbaugh. But I think the key now is this quarterback and those receivers. And then let's talk about the running back, by the way. Oh, my
Yeah.
God. The guy, every time, Brad, in the game, he got hit, the fucker got 5 yards. He's hitting the backfield. But the
Yeah.
thing is Michigan has the best offensive line. This is
Yeah.
their 3rd year in a row. You guys have had the best offensive line in all of college football. I mean, this offensive line is ready to start. They could be starting for the Detroit Lions. I mean, that's how good they are.
Yeah.
I mean, the holes they were making for Caleb, I was like, you and I can run through that. And I run a sub 40 at 6,
Yeah.
right? You too, I'm sure.
I'm at
So-
an 8.
But what I'm saying is their truck can fit through there, right? So it was an impressive win there. I think
a
Iowa
surprising team for me is like Tennessee. Like they haven't had a good team for a while, and like they've kind of come out of nowhere and played really well.
Yeah, I do like their quarterback. I like their young quarterback. That's a lot of just like in the NFL. If you don't have a quarterback, you're going to be hurting. Look at Iowa. He was horrible.
Yep.
He is young though, but he looked horrible.
Do you think Bama ends up taking it all this year, or do you see
I don't-
Georgia?
I don't see Bama winning it all. I actually like my team to be in the mix. I don't think USC is going to win it, but have you seen USC's quarterback? He is good. You got to check him out.
And
He's really good.
they're playing pretty good too. They're 5-0 as well.
It's early. We have played.
Yeah.
We've played nobody. So don't get too excited because it's USC. This is what we do.
Right.
We look good,
Kentucky's another team that's shocking. I mean, they haven't.
Even though they
were
just
a team
lost.
that's. Yeah.
Yeah, they
But I
just
think
lost.
their program, hasn't been very good for years, and they kind of came out of nowhere. And
they're playing in the
sneaky
SEC.
good.
SEC now, and they have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Who did they just lose to? That was a top matchup. I don't have it on me right now, but they just lost the game. But
Ole Miss, which I think we were talking about last week.
Yes, we did. That's right.
matchups.
They went into Oxford, Mississippi, and they lost. Ole Miss beat them down pretty good, but that's okay. It's early in the year. If you're going to lose, you want to lose now. Get it out the way.
Now, another under-the-radar team for me is my hometown team, which is James Madison.
James Madison at JMU?
They are my hometown team, and that team moving up into a new division.
I like it.
Now, granted, it's not the best division. It's a Sun Belt, but I mean, it's
it's not division.
App State is there, and I mean they haven't lost a game, and their defense is freaking good.
Yeah, so they remind me a lot of the team you just mentioned, Appalachian State, who I know you don't want to talk about because many moons ago they beat
Michigan.
They beat your Michigan, but this is who they remind me of, though. This is who they remind me of. A small school. I'm rooting for them, no doubt. I'm rooting for JMU, for James Madison. I would like to see them play somebody. I think next year they're going to be able to get more and to bring more money into the program because that's the key.
And next year I think they're bowl eligible because this year they weren't due to leaving the CAA early. So
so you have to.
I think they only play like 7 games.
So you lose a year of eligibility, right? So 1 year. That's fine.
But I mean, it helps recruiting wise. I mean, if they play well this season,
then they could get some
good recruits in there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Speaking of the underrated team, I think UCLA should be talked about. They beat Washington. a ranked team, top 15 team.
Yep.
And Dorian Thompson,
They're 5-0
Jenkins.
too.
Yeah, and he's looking good. Their quarterback, a transfer. They got him in a transfer. So the portal, just like USC got their quarterback. And I think USC, and not to talk about my team, but Lincoln Riley coming over from it's been huge. So we'll see. So far, so good. The offense is it good, and then the defense is flying. I mean, that's the thing about SC. We've always had defensive talents from you look at Junior Seau to Troy Polamalu, all those guys, right?
Right.
You've gotten a lot of really
Reggie
good
Bush.
Yeah, Reggie Bush on the offensive side, Matt Leinart, Carson
Mark
Palmer,
Sanchez.
Carson
List
Palmer,
goes
Mark
on
Sanchez.
and on.
Yeah, and all these teams, and they've only had 2 national championships in the last 30 some odd years, but a lot of that has to stem from
the SEC.
The SEC winning a lot and they're able to get the players down there. But SEC looks good this year. We'll see if they're able to compete against a good team. They're going to start playing.
Are they shifting to another conference next year?
Yes, they'll be in the Big Ten next year.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so technically,
the conference realignments are so weird right now. It's kind of ruined a lot of stuff. I always picture the USC being in the Pac-10 or whatever. Correct. I mean, that's supposed to be where they're at against Oregon, against those teams. So it's like really weird seeing this whole shift with the conferences.
I do think it's going to be better, though, because you're going to get teams like your school, Michigan, Ohio State, playing USC, playing UCLA. Yeah. I think that will be better. Both of those teams travel well, or all 4 teams travel well. Ohio State, Michigan, USC, UCLA. So you kind of get that interstate rivalry. So I think it'll be good. The only time you would see USC, Michigan, or USC, Ohio State, or UCLA, Michigan, UCLA, Ohio State was in the bowl games. That's it. And it would have to be in the Rose Bowl.
The only thing I worry about is competition, though, too, because, I mean, if you just have these big, the Big Ten and the SEC that's got all these big schools, 10 schools competing, it's like where's the other competition go to? Do they get left out with, Well,
that's why I think you're gonna see in the next 10 years there'll only be Power 5 conferences.
Yeah.
That's it. You're only gonna have about 50 schools. Right. It won't be 128. What is it, 164 now? It's something ridiculous.
Yeah.
They need to get under 100, though. I think we all agree. So I'm not saying do 50, which the Power 5 is wanting to do, and they have the power. But then you have schools like Notre Dame, who's independent and doesn't want to join a conference because they bring so much money that they feel if they join a conference, it's counter, to what they do.
And they've always been an independent, so you can't really see them becoming, in a
correct. And if they did join, realistically, because of logistics, they would have to probably join the Big Ten, right? That's just the way. Yep. If you're going to look at the power, that just makes too much sense, especially with UCLA and USC.
Right.
I don't know if you know, both of them are leaving next year. They're moving together, right? They agreed.
And I think going to isn't there somebody going to the Pac that's going back to the Pac-10 or Pac-12?
The Pac-12, yeah. So
who's going? Is it Texas that was moving over there?
No, I don't know. No, because
Texas
is Big
and
12.
Oklahoma. I think they're going to SEC, aren't they?
Yeah, they're talking about it. They haven't decided, but they're Big 12 right now.
Right.
So we'll see. That's going to be weird, though. I just don't.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the last thing we were going to touch on is the beginning of the NBA season. That kicks off next week. So I guess Tuesday. So how do you see everything shaping up this year? Who do you like? And I know you like the Lakers.
I don't.
How do you feel they're going to do?
I don't think we're going to do like we did last year bad. The key is staying healthy, right? Health for any team that's old as they are, with LeBron, Russell, and Anthony Davis, all older in age, even though Anthony's the youngest of the 3.
He's just had so many health problems over the years.
Yeah, and some really bad injuries. So
health.
But I think out west, you still have to look at the team to beat right now in the West. It's got to be the Warriors. The Suns don't scare me.
They traded a lot of their players off. I think they did a fire sale.
Yeah, even though they've had the best record in the Western Conference the last 2 years. They have nothing to show for it. I mean, you went to the finals, but you lost to the Bucks, and last year they fizzed out against
and you still got
the Mavericks. The Mavericks, remember that?
Yes. Mavericks are going to be tough.
They're going to be tough if they can stay healthy. They need some more help for Luka, but I really like Luka, by the way. He's one of my favorite players. He reminds me, I don't know how to put it, but man, his game is so smooth. Like,
but he reminds me of Jason Kidd.
Yeah, a much bigger version of Jason Kidd.
Yeah,
though.
But I mean,
and
like
he can shoot. Jason was never a shooter until the end of his career.
Yeah,
Luka he's a deadly shooter. He gets everyone involved. He can rebound. He defends, he assists. I mean, he did it all. He straight lit up the Suns last year. I mean, the Suns single-handedly just got murdered by him. But the Warriors ended up beating them, right? So, who do you got in the East? So, since I talked about the West, who do you like in the East? You like because the Nets?
East,
you can't really bank on the Nets.
I don't like the Nets. I don't feel like they're. I mean, you got the two head cases there.
Yep.
That I don't think they're probably going to sit out half the season.
I agree.
Durant, I don't know what's up with him. I don't know
Kyrie.
if his career's over with or what's going on with him, or if he's just not interested in basketball anymore. But he just hadn't played very much. I think he wants to go back to Oakland, back to the Warriors. I think is where he wants to head to. But I think if Boston has a really good team.
Even without their coach banging everybody.
Yeah, even without their coach, I feel like they're still probably a pretty good team.
We didn't even talk about that. That's
Milwaukee,
hilarious.
Another good team.
Definitely the Bucks.
They got some good teams. Toronto used to be good, and then they traded some players away. They still might be able to compete. Cleveland, that's another team to watch.
I do like
the radar that's young.
And they got Donovan Mitchell now. I think that's going to help. They did good last year. They made the playoffs.
Yeah.
You added Donovan Mitchell some scoring at the 2, and look out for. I like Cleveland. I agree.
Miami's another team that could end up playing pretty well.
They have
competing.
Well, they've been very good 2 years, and they're coached very well. Theirs is health again. You worry about the health of their team, so we'll see.
I don't think it's going to be Washington. My freaking Wizards are freaking flat garbage. They've been garbage for
they've been garbage.
Poor Bradley Beal. I feel bad for that guy.
He should leave,
John Wall and Bradley Beal, two good players. Couldn't do a damn thing.
Where's John Wall now?
Where'd
he go?
Houston, and I don't know if he's still with Houston or if he got.
I can't remember. Oh, he's with the Clippers
bought
now.
Out.
I think he's with the Clippers now.
I think so.
Oh, the Clippers
Chicago's another team that's under the radar.
I like
DeRozan.
Chicago too. Yeah, DeRozan and Zach LaVine.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good squad too.
But Lonzo's having surgery again.
Is he?
Yeah,
where's his brother signed? The balls are now in Charlotte, aren't they?
Yeah, the balls are there. The two balls.
God. How does Michael Jordan sign those two? That's like weird. Like,
but the youngest,
all the shit their dad talked on Michael Jordan is how he was going to destroy them, and he signs their kids.
But LiAngelo's been balling. Give credit to LiAngelo. He looks legit. Third year, his rookie year was very impressive. Last year he did. Oh my God, they almost made the playoffs.
Yeah. And his brother signed with him from overseas, I think, is where he was playing at.
Yeah, he's playing somewhere overseas, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Should be fun. How it goes. Basketball, yeah.
Well, we'll wrap it up here and get ready to watch the Broncos game. And I think they're only up 3-0 and it's still in the first quarter. So, and then I squeaked it out in fantasy football again this week. You're still 4-0.
Yep, I am undefeated still, and hopefully keep it going.
Poor Ty. 0-4.
0-4, and it's not looking better for him.
Benched Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, I saw some. There's been some good fantasy football going on though. Some high scores.
I've been I sweated last week because it was I was so mad at myself because I had T.J. Hawkinson who hadn't done anything for the first couple of weeks, and I was like, all right, I'm going to put him on the bench. Right, and he freaking gets almost 40 points.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns, 9 catches, 140 yards. Yep.
Yeah. And then I didn't put in Penny from Seattle because he hadn't really done a whole lot. I'm like, all right, I'm looking at the matchup, so I was like, all right, I'll go with Singletary. He matches up well against the Ravens. Nope, he don't do a damn thing either.
Yeah, but the week before and the week before, you've been Singletary and he goes off. So
yeah, I'm like, I can't win for losing.
Well, that's why I haven't moved my roster. I don't know if you noticed. I haven't made any switches. So
you haven't.
Just
I was kind of worried. Like last week after the Tua, him dropping out, you had both the receivers, Waddle and Tyreek. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, but
he still fared well. Bridgewater came in and played well.
Yeah, Bridgewater got the ball to Tyreek. They doubled Jalen out of the slot, so they took him away, which is fine with me because I still have other targets, right? And Dobbins had a good week. Yeah, I need to buy those. I would like to see Tua come back, of course, but I don't see Tua coming back this whole month. They should let him sit out this whole month.
Yeah,
it's November.
And you got Bridgewater. Bridgewater's not a pushover.
No, he's not a pushover. And they still almost won the game. Remember? So I mean, they were in the game. It's not like he
gets
came
a
in
full week
of
practice and
more snaps, right? First team reps and get more comfortable with Tyreek and Jalen because Brad, anyone can throw the ball to them. As long as you have a strong arm, you can get it to them. Just get it in their hands. They're the two fastest receivers in the league. I mean, Cheetah is gone, 80 yards, right?
Gone.
I mean,
I don't even know. Who do they play this week? They probably play the Jets. That's a win.
Yeah, well, they should beat the Jets. I don't know. The Steelers lost to the Jets, so I don't want to sit here. Wilson actually played.
Trubisky.
Yeah, exactly. I think if they started Pickett before, he looked good in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, he had the 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I'll tell you, another surprise team is the Jaguars.
Their
Lawrence
defense
has looked really good.
Yeah, the offense has looked better. Their defense is top 10 of the league, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Well, they're a young team. I think they have the right coach. Doug Peterson is a very good coach. And look how much better, even though Lawrence struggled a little bit last week with his accuracy, he still's got the big arm, and they have some good targets for him on the outside. Yep. So we'll see.
I'm just surprised, with the Rams. I figured they'd be playing a lot better. They haven't looked really that good, and Stafford can't.
Well, I told you they're struggling.
Like you said, he holds on to the ball too long, but
the ball.
The line hasn't looked.
The offensive line has looked horrible since what's his name retired, the old dude,
Whitworth,
Andrew. Since Andrew went down, that was the heart and soul. That whole left side of the line is horrible, and then you only have one receiver, Cooper Kupp. Allen Robinson is looked out of sync. I mean, I don't know what's going on with him. He did pretty good for the Bears last year, and 2 years ago he's a Pro Bowler for the Bears. So I don't know. It might have to do with Stafford and not having time. So we'll see.
I think there was a rumor. I think they were possibly trading for Robbie Anderson out of Carolina.
Yeah, I still think the Rams should bring in Odell once he's ready. Odell's not ready to play yet. So once Odell comes, I think he would help free up the double teams from Cooper and free up some holes. He still put up
good numbers last week, even with the double team. I mean, he
still had
still
like 14.
Looked good. That dude can catch everything.
Everything. He does not drop the fucking ball, I swear.
How he got dropped all the way to, was it third round? He had, I forget how many wide receivers drafted ahead of him.
No, he was undrafted.
No, he was third round.
No, look it up.
Yes.
Look up Cooper.
Swear to God,
sure?
Look it up.
Okay, look it up.
God. You look it up.
Maybe he was talking about, hold up. Let me look it up while you keep talking about.
He was like the fifth or sixth wide receiver taken in the draft.
Because I thought he was, let's look at it. Because I know they talked about him getting drafted out of Eastern, because I know he went to Eastern Washington. God, they graded him so bad. Oh, you're right. Third round. Pick 5.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
The guys that he got picked over haven't done as well. I mean, they weren't terrible wide receivers, but...
You mean the ones that were picked over him, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 6 wide receivers were taken before Cooper. So that's not a lot. Let's look at them. Corey Davis.
Not bad.
Hasn't done good.
No.
241 catches for 15 touchdowns. Mike Williams. That was good. He deserved to be a before Cooper, I would say. Right? Number 7 overall by the Chargers. I can't believe Corey Davis was drafted number 5 by the Titans. What were they thinking? Okay, 5'7". John Ross. He's not even in the league anymore.
No.
Number 9. Remember him from the Bengals?
Yep.
He's no longer in the league. Zay Jones, who's currently on Zay Jones. He was drafted 37th by the Bills. He's on the Jaguars now. Trevor Lawrence throwing him the ball. He's had a pretty solid career. He was drafted number 37, second round for the Bills. Curtis Samuel from Ohio State, number 40 to the Panthers. And then Juju Smith-Schuster, number 62 overall, second round out
with
of
the Chiefs.
Drafted from USC to the Steelers.
But
He's had a solid career.
All of them
would
probably draft freaking Cup.
After. Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, the only one I think
2020.
I still think the only one that would get drafted above him, honestly, would be Mike Williams because of his size, 6'5", 240. That's it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't draft him first, but I'm just telling you, some GMs look at the measurables, and he's had a solid career. 230 catches, 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns. I mean, that is definitely a good career. It ain't Cooper Kupp.
No. That dude can catch everything.
Everything. And undersized and tough as nails. So,
yeah.
All right.
So,
all right, brother.
We'll wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see y'all again next week, and y'all have a good one.
All right.